Pros and cons of being a professional Magic the Gathering player. Yo, what up? Welcome in. Much love. Trav here. Shout out to my guy, Matt Caricature, for this pretty accurate drawing of me. You got the four chin hairs, and that's a little bit too real. But yo, welcome in. Much love. Trav here. Want to talk to you all about what it's like to be pro Magic, something I've been thinking about. This applies to you three different ways. One, you're just interested, want to live vicariously for me. Two, if you're actually interested in this lifestyle and you want to go into it. Or three, if you're already a pro Magic player and you want some tips on how to do it better. You know, I'm not the best pro Magic player by any means, but I think I'm one of the best at making the most of the lifestyle possibilities. So that's what we're going to be talking about how to have a good life and how to have fun and contribute and do cool things. You know, this is a topic I've talked about a couple times, but going to go a little bit more in depth from a different direction here. So we'll start off the pros, we'll go back to the cons, and then we'll balance it out. So the first pro is you get to play a lot of Magic. If you're going to do that anyways, then it's almost free money, right? Or free. It's like a free thing to do. Like if you love playing Magic and you're gonna do it anyways, then you're getting paid to play now. Like that's awesome, right? And I think it's especially great because of all the games I played, I would only want to be pro at Magic, really. I mean, as an athlete, potentially that would be pretty cool, but that's also short-lived because of the, your body span, injury, and so on. But Magic's great because it's a paper in-person game. You get to sit down with your friends, sit down with your family, and meet old friends in distant places and see the same people. And you get to practice a lot. You know, there's a component to Magic Online, but just to contrast, like, I wouldn't want to be a pro Call of Duty player. I wouldn't want to be a pro League player. I wouldn't want to be a pro StarCraft player, sit there staring at the screen all the time. You know, there's pros and cons to that, but I think one of the pros and cons of being a pro Magic player is sitting down across from a human being and playing cards, where we're in a world where things are increasingly digital, and it's a nice escape from that, where a lot of your job is actually just to sit down across from someone and you have to turn off the phone, you have to turn off the computer. Again, Magic Online is a great training tool, and if you're going to be a pro Magic player, I suppose one of the cons is if you're going to play every day, then you got to play some Magic Online, which is not my favorite, but it's still a fun game. It's not so bad, and the Pro Tour isn't Magic Online. It's in-person Magic, so I think that's great. Another big pro of Magic, being pro Magic, that I like is that Magic is a game that really rewards a deep understanding, so that it's not a dexterity game. It's athletic in a sense, but it's not dexterity. What that means is you don't have to necessarily spend that much time to become really good or to maintain your skills once you have very deep understanding. You do need to play a lot and you do need to prepare, but it's not like a sport or it's not like StarCraft, where to be a pro you have to play 8 hours a day, right? It's not like being a pro basketball player where you have to do all this training. I mean, you can, and maybe you should, but for Magic, you can play, you get to a point where you're just playing a couple hours a day, but you're so advanced and you have such a deep understanding and you've thought about it so much that you don't have to play all day. So that gives you a lot of freedom of time to do other things, which we'll talk about. And that's another reason why I wouldn't pick being professional at these other things, because since they're dexterity games, you really have to play a lot more to stay sharp and master, where with Magic, you really don't. You can, and again, it helps to play a ton, but you don't have to necessarily. Okay. Another pro of pro Magic is the travel. To me, this is what really attracted me from the start. Is they've flown me to Japan, they've flown me to Hawaii, they've flown me to Europe multiple times, all around the US. It's been really awesome and really cool, and sure, I could have done a lot of travel and I could have gone to a lot of these places, but I probably wouldn't have because I didn't have the impetus. Pro Magic gives you the impetus to travel. And once you're out there, because they buy the ticket, you can have them send you back months later, which I've done. So I've spent 6 months in Spain. I spent a lot of time in Hawaii, extra time at various locations. And you get to travel and meet cool people and be exposed to different cultures that, again, is possible you can do if you just get up and buy a ticket, but you probably won't, I haven't. That makes it a lot more affordable as well. So travel thing is cool. And I hope they keep continuing on that because next year it's just a bunch of U.S. domestic locations, which is not really that exciting for travel. They take that away. It's a big pro lost, but that's why we're talking about it, complaining a little bit so that they know, hey, maybe this is something that we should keep it going. Okay, other pros of Pro Magic. Well, you have also a big community to work in is pretty cool. Playing Magic all the time is not necessarily the most productive or fulfilling thing, but there's a big community that you can serve in other ways by giving them useful content, stuff like this. So it's a good launching pad into the bigger world of YouTube or Instagram and all that stuff. So for that, I'm pretty stoked on it. Now let's combine all the pros together before we move on to the cons. I play a lot of games, the best game, play a lot of that. Very social, actually, meeting people in person. You travel a lot and have a lot of time to allocate it how you choose. That's awesome, right? That's great. And you get to compete at the highest level is another thing. Like the competition itself, just being able to play at the highest level is awesome. So those are all the pros, and that's great. Let's go into the cons a little bit. So the first con is money. The ceiling is not very high, especially if you're just going on tournament prizing. It's not like poker where you'll be a millionaire. Being Pro Magic doesn't really come with the social cachet either, where, pro Magic player isn't like being a pro baseball player or even a pro esports player necessarily. Like, it's not, you don't have the money, you don't have the fans to the same extent. So that kind of sucks, and I don't really see that changing. And there's a sacrifice there. The upside to that, though, is there can be a good money or decent money at least in writing content and coaching. But then the con of that is like you have this content grind where you're continually putting stuff out. But if you're going to do that anyways, like me, I love to make content, then it's not an issue. So part of being Pro Magic is being involved in the community and making content. You can look at that as a pro or a con, but the con is the ceiling for money. You're not going to be a millionaire. Sorry about that. You have to do something else. You might even not make very much money at all. But I mean, the pros are there, so whatever. Not too mad about it. Other cons. Yeah, I mentioned like it's not really that fulfilling to just play a game. So one problem a lot of pros have is just feeling lost or actually not feeling that good about themselves because like, what am I really doing here? I'm just playing a game while other people are working, and that's cool, but it kind of gets old after a while. And I can relate to that. And to me, the fix for that is just ascribing meaning, like saying, I do this for this reason, or I play Pro Magic so that I can reapply better thinking habits to the broader society, and so that I can share my energy and love for life, the great times that I have with the Magic community. So it's a little bit more of a stretch though. If you're a teacher or you're a farmer or you do some other, you're in construction and build stuff, it's pretty easy to, it can be very hard work, but you're at least like, I built something, I helped these people, I feel fulfilled, I have fulfilling days. You don't really get that for Pro Magic unless you really ascribe some meaning and go out and make the content and so on, find some reason. So it's a little bit of work to do that. And even then, it's like, shouldn't I just be doing like something, this feels selfish, it feels vapid, whatever. So that's something to think about. And my solution, again, is just make content, share my energy, try to contribute in a broader, bigger picture. Other cons of Pro Magic. Another con is uncertainty, and this is a big one. So you know, like with a lot of jobs, you know that you're going to keep the job, or you know that you get tenured eventually, or whatever. You know where you're going to be, that if you want to, you can have this job in 5 years or 2 years or whatever. Pro Magic, you really don't have that luxury because with Pro Magic, there's the issue of falling off the tour. You don't really know if you're going to have the points for next season, sometimes until the last tournament of the season. So your visibility down the road of if you're going to be able to continue doing this is very short. Good players fall off because it's hard, so it can be really stressful, where it's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this next year. I might not. You can essentially, you could say there's very little job security. You have to perform at a very high level all the time, and the variance in Magic, the same way that you get on is the same way you get off sometimes. So that's one thing that does really suck about it, is you can't really bank on it or bet on it necessarily. However, the way to protect the downside here, and this is something that I've done, is you make your Pro Magic job, again, more about content or serving the community. I've done Pro Magic for a long time, and some of those times I was really not on the tour, and it didn't matter because my job in the community is to help people, and I don't have to be qualified in order to do it. But when you're qualified, you get more respect, you get more props, and that's when you get the plane tickets to go travel as well. So that's a serious con, and especially taking off season and the way the system is changing, which I'm also complaining about a little bit because I want it to be fixed. It's really punishing to take an off season now of any kind. But I don't know if I'm going to be. I mean, I know I'm going to be coaching and making content in a year. I don't know if I'm going to be on the Pro Tour as a Gold Pro though, and that's a con. A lot of you guys listening know that you can have your job in a year if you want it. I don't know that, right? What other cons are there? I guess a con that I mentioned is like you have to play. You have to play a lot of Magic, and sometimes that means playing a lot of Magic online. Like, as I was preparing for the Pro Tour and trying to become Draft Master, I was drafting every single day. An extra 2 hours online sitting at the computer is not something that I really wanted, and something that I felt that I had to do, and it's something you have to do when you're preparing for these tournaments, right? Another con is, so the travel, when you're traveling to a Pro Tour and you're hanging out, that's really cool, but when you're just traveling from city to city to do Grand Prix, it can be a real grind on your health, and that's one of the reasons why we see a lot of Pro Magic players in poor health or not in great shape. That's just because the job makes it hard, because your sleep's disrupted, you're always flying, you're getting sick, the food's not necessarily that good, it's hard to eat good, so it can become a bit of a grind for that reason, especially if you want to keep your job security and keep having easy content, then you want to keep playing in these tournaments to make sure you get the points, but then it becomes a bit of a grind fest and you start to feel sick and stuff like that. So pros and cons to it. Again, we'll wrap up here with the overall pros and cons. Pros, it's fun, card game, get to play at the highest level, in person, social, easy travel, free time to allocate as you choose, and a great big community to work in. Cons, low pay ceiling, low job security. Sometimes you have to play a lot of Magic online, sitting and staring at a computer, and those would be not necessarily that much meaning or fulfillment in what you're doing. That's not necessarily right, but again, talked about how to maximize it and have the best possible time. So let me know what you think. I hope you found this helpful. If you find this useful, please leave a comment. If you enjoyed this, let me know what you think. If this is some sort of lifestyle that you want, leave a comment. If you're more into the lifestyle stuff, make sure to check my other channel, Travis Wu. I'm putting a lot of effort into that channel. Very easy for me to make lots of content for that one, even as I take an off season from Magic. So make sure to go check that out. And if you're a pro, another pro player, send me a message. Let me know what you think. And hope you find this useful. So appreciate you all. Much love and take care.